All right. Hey, and welcome back, guys. Thank you for joining me today. Hope you're all doing great. And we continue with the second part of this story. I said it yesterday, the Enchanted profile. So, we are beginning. Miss Bates explained her absence from and returned to the Acropolis Hotel in the words identical or similar to these following. The dialogue begins. Well, man, how are the stories coming? Pretty regularly, said I. About equal to their going. I'm sorry, said she. Good typewriting is the main thing in the story. You've missed me, haven't you? No one, said I. Whom I have ever known knows as well as you do to please properly buckles, semicolons, hotel guests, and harpins. Harpins. But you've been away too. I saw a package of peppermint pepsin in your place the other day. I was going to tell you about it, said Miss Bates, if you hadn't interrupted me. Of course. You know about Maggie Brown, who stops here. Well, she's worth four 40 millions dollars. She lives in Jersey in a $10 flat. She's always got more cash on hand than half a dozen businesses candidates for vice president. I don't know whether she cares it in her stockings or not, but I know she's mighty popular down in the part of the town where they worship worship the golden calf calf. Well, about 2 weeks ago, Mrs. Brown stops at the door and robbers at me for 10 minutes. I'm sitting with my side to her, striking striking off some manifold copies of a copper mine proposition for a nice old man from Tonopah. Tonopah. But I always see everything all around me. When I'm hard at work, I can see things through my side combs, and I can leave one button unbuttoned in the black of my shirtwaist and see who's behind me. I didn't look around because I make from $18 to $20 a week, and I didn't have to. That evening, at knocking off time, she sends for me to come up to her apartment. I expected to have to typewrite about 2,000 words of notes of hand, lines, and contracts with a 10-cent tip inside. But I went. Well, man, I was certainly surprised. Old Maggie Brown had turned human. Child, says she, you're the most beautiful creature I ever saw in my life. I want you to quit your work and come and live with me. I have no kith, or kin. I've no kith or kin, says she, except a husband and a son or two. And I hold no communication with any of them. The extravagant burdens on a hard-working woman I want you to be a daughter to me. They say I'm stingy, and mean, and the papers print lies about my doing my own cooking and washing. It's a lie, she goes on. I put my washing out, except the handkerchiefs and stockings and petticoats, petticoats and collars and light stuff like that. Hold a sec. I get $40 million in cash and stocks and bonds that are as negotiable as Standard Oil preferred preferred at a church fair. I'm a lonely old woman and I need a companionship. You're the most beautiful been human being I ever saw. You're the most beautiful human being I ever saw, says she. Will you come and live with me? I'll show them whether I can spend money or not, she says. Well, man, what do you what would you have done? Of course, I fell to it. And to tell you the truth, I began to like old Maggie. It wasn't all on account of the 40 millions and what she could do for me. I was kind of lonesome in the world too. Everybody's got to have somebody they can explain to about the pain in their left shoulder and how fast patent leather shoes wear out when they begin to crack. And you can't talk about such things to men you meet in hotels. They are looking for just such openings. So I gave up my job in the hotel and went with Mrs. Brown. I certainly seemed to have a mash on her. She'd look at me for half an hour at a time when I was sitting, reading or looking at the magazines. One time I says to her, "Do I remind you some decent relative or friend of your childhood, Miss Brown? I've noticed you give me a pretty good optical inspection from time to time. You have a face," says she, "exactly like a dear friend of mine, the best friend I ever had. But I like you for yourself, child, too," she says. And say, man, what do you suppose she did? Loosened up like a marcel wave in the surf at Corny. She took me to a swell dressmaker and gave her a la carte to fit me out. Unlimited money for buying something, right? And gave me a la carte. A la carte. That's the meaning of a la carte. To fit me out. Money, no object. Money, no object. I like this phrase. They were rush orders, and Madame locked the front door and put the whole force to work. Then we moved to, where do you think? No, guess again. That's right, the Hotel Bonton. We had a 6-room apartment and it cost 100 a day. That's an average. Something even cheap this time, right? I saw the bill. I began to love that old lady. And then, man, when my dress began to come in, oh, I won't tell you about them. You couldn't understand. and I began to call her Aunt Maggie. You read about Cinderella, of course. Well, what Cinderella said when the prince fitted that 3 1 second. 3 and 1 second. Fitted that 3 in 1 second on A on her food was a hard luck story compared to the things I told myself. Then Aunt Maggie says she's going to give me a coming out banquet in the Bonton that'll make moving vans of all the old Dutch families of Fifth Avenue. I've been out before, Aunt Maggie. I've been out before, Aunt Maggie, says I, but I'll come out again. But you know, says I, that this is one of the swellest hotels in the city. And you know, pardon me, that it's hard to get a bunch of notables, notables together unless you've trained for it. Don't fret about that, child, says Aunt Maggie. I don't send our invitation sent out invitations. I issue orders. I'll have 50 guests here that couldn't be brought together again at any reception unless it were given by King Edward or William Travers Jerome. They are men, of course, and all of them either owe me money or intend to. Some of their wives won't come, but a good many will. Alright, guys. The good story goes on, and we're gonna figure out what's happened next tomorrow. Thank you for joining me today, and see you on the next part. Bye.